All right, have not fans. Now I have to say that I am very surprised that the video I did a couple of days ago blew up so much. The one about, will the Malones kill Charles as a favor to Candace? We all know about the whole Mama Rose owing Candace a favor. And in the video, I pretty much summarized what if things got so bad for Candace in regards to Charles's political team trashing her in the media that she has no choice but to take Charles out. And what the video is doing very well. I know some people didn't like the fact that I did the video. It's like, how dare you? Candace would never have Charles killed like that. But in the video, I get into good detail about it as to why I think that's the case. I'm not saying I want Charles to die. I'm just saying we shouldn't rule out that possibility. That's a plot point that needed to be explored due to the fact that, let's say there is no follow-up on Benny and Wyatt. Mitch gave the money to Vinny, and Sandy was on the phone calling off the hits on Benny and Wyatt. So if those are actually cases that are fully closed, because I haven't done a video yet. I think I mentioned this in a live stream or something. Remember when Mitch, was pretty much, I wouldn't want to say gloating, but yeah, well, in a way he was. He's like, yeah, I told you I'll handle business, pretty much saying, hey, I said I will get the money. There's the money, call off the hits. And then he left the envelope there for his Uncle Vinny to play with or something like that. And I'm like, what if, Lloyd from the bank, who, of course, Jim went to the bank all screen to pick the money up from. What if there was some kind of receipt or notification in the envelope stating that the $75,000 came from Catherine Cryer's account? And then the Malones would be like, whoa. I told Mitch that the kid owed me $50,000 for not only the $5,000 in drugs, but, for slicing my neck and leaving me on the floor. But then the black kid owed me $20,000, and then he had an extra $5,000 for the interest. So then the Malones would put two and two together that Mitch pretty much played them in order to get the cash to pay off both debts. Even though I think that shouldn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but whatever. So let's just say that theory is moot. Let's say that doesn't matter. At that point in the story, what purpose do the Malones serve? The only setup in that scene between Mitch, Vinny, and Sandy was them wanting to bring Mitch back into the family. At one point he was in, then he decided to get out. So they want him back in, but he doesn't want to do it. So I figure that maybe the Malones will get involved with the whole Charles scenario to make them relevant to the plot. So, I mean, you're probably wondering, well, Jeremy, almost 3 minutes in, what does this have to do with Candace and Charles? Hey, this isn't me just running my mouth for the sake of time. This is me setting up the scenario here. Now, when it comes down to it, that's why I did the video about the Malones possibly killing Charles for Candace in order to make them hugely relevant to the story. Not to mention, the FBI versus the Malones. Who wouldn't want to see that? Now, getting more to the point of the title of this video, do you think Charles and Candace will get back together? I have to be completely honest here. I think I mentioned this in another video. I said, well, let's put it this way. Charles pretty much kicked Candace to the curb. Candace is trying to do pretty much live her life in a new way. And, the FBI is pretty much trying to nail her and everything. So she's pretty much screwed no matter what she does. If Charles and Candace don't get back together, what purpose does Charles even bring to the show? And why is he even still there? And once again, this isn't me trying to say I dislike Charles or anything. This is just me trying to make sense of his presence in the show if he's no longer attached to Candace. Now, the only attachment they have at this point is, okay, Charles is going to have to distance himself, leading to his team making a statement. And then the next part of their story is how Candace reacts to said statement. Not to mention, on top of that, what if Charles sees how badly Candace is being grilled by the FBI and they try to take her down, and then he feels so guilty, and then his feelings flare up, whatever you want to call it, and he he pretty much dumps everything in order to either take her back or help her out. Because I posted the clip on my Instagram today. I figured that with the show being off for a while, let me post a few video clips from, throughout the season, like when the president confronts Charles and when Ian talks to Alex about is the baby his. I know that's If Loving You Is Wrong, but I had to post something about If Loving You Is Wrong. That show needed some love since OWN hasn't made any kind of announcement, so people are still wondering where the show is. And I was rewatching that clip of the president and first lady pretty much telling Charles they didn't like him at all, and I'm just like, well, he's fired Landon, he's thrown Candace to the curb. Charles is pretty much by himself. I mean, yeah, he has his kids, but at the same time, Landon was his right hand and someone who he could trust and depend on. True, the whole feelings of Landon being into him, but they kind of squashed that in regards to, hey, I need you around. You're so damn good at your job. And then, Landon took it a step further by saying Candace brings out the best in you. So for all we know, we might see Chucky in the White House, pretty much the other persona of Charles that his campaign team knows him best for around the camp. So I dare say, and guys, you all know I love comic books and everything, so I'm going to make a reference here. If you want to make a reference, after Joker killed Jason Todd in the comic books, Batman pretty much became, more grittier and dark. So that's when Tim Drake came into the picture in order to kind of be his accountability partner, kind of someone to keep Batman in check, because without a Robin, Batman is pretty much, a monster, so to speak, because there's no light to the Dark Knight itself. So when you kind of think about it, Candace was kind of like the Robin persona for Charles, pretty much someone who could keep him grounded, if you will, someone who was a reminder of his past life, and also someone who was a hustler like he was allegedly back in his day, someone who wouldn't let these political sedity people just walk all over her. And that's the thing that made Candace stand out, almost like, Batwoman and Catwoman. Bruce Wayne could have almost pretty much any woman he wanted because it's Bruce Wayne, but they're all women who were just throwing themselves at him. But with Catwoman, it was someone who walked on the alternate side of the law and someone who can give Batman a challenge, and that's why those two fell in love. So with Charles, it's almost the same thing. He said, like, when he pretty much showed his Chucky persona to Candace, is like, oh, I have women like all over the country, but there's none that I've wanted as much as you. No one who's better at sex, no one who's pretty much, his equal in a sense, someone who is the hustler that he was, pretty much someone who isn't just throwing themselves at him, someone he has to work. Is basically the what's the note? And look, as a guy, I can relate. What is it? You always want what you can't have. That's pretty much where the Charles and Candace scenario is. But I think that without Candace by his side, it will take some time, but I think Charles will come to realize that he needs Candace more than he needs the approval of the government figures, or at least the current administration, because they literally said to his face they don't like him. So it's like, well, why would it matter if you have a whore in the White House? I mean, technically I can see why, but when you look at the real world we're in now when it comes to the Trump administration, it's like every day he's trending for either a tweet, a controversial statement, hey, it's like impeach Trump. And look, guys, I'm not trying to get political here. I'm trying to take what's happening in the real world government and then comparing it to the haves and the have-nots, just to let you know. So I don't want to see any people going at it in the comments, those who support Trump, those who don't going at it. That's not what I'm bringing it up for, because it's been shown time and time again. Tyler Perry takes elements of what's happening in the real world, whether it be government or just life itself, and then implementing it into a storytelling. Just wanted to do that quick little disclaimer. Now, I definitely think that, well, yeah, that actually does make sense that, I get it. Charles, well, I feel like it's more of Charles's team that's pushing him. Charles wanted to hang on to Candace no matter what, but it's just gotten so bad that all her dirty laundry is being hung out for everyone to see, and it's not pretty. And remember, the FBI is still getting information from the likes of Broderick and Rocky, and Jim told Kyle who knows what. So they're pretty much going to do everything they can to make her life living hell. And with Charles having Candace by his side, that would have just meant he would have been brought down with her. Probably not, enough to leave the White House, but at the same time, his reputation would have been extremely low going into, what is it called? The approval rating? I doubt the approval rating would have been anything good. Let's put it that way. But I'm going to make another reference here. If you remember, Everybody Hates Chris. It was the episode where that tall girl who was kind of geeky, I think they called her Big Bird. Chris didn't want to be seen around school with her. And then at the end of the episode, she, got a makeover and was going to be a model or something like that. And the whole episode, I'm thinking, well, Chris, you're being punked every day in your school because, like, what, he was the only black kid or whatever. And it's just like, so what if you're dating someone who people call a nerd and everything and make fun of you for, because they make fun of you anyway, but at least you have somebody by your side that actually cares and likes you. So I kind of feel the same way. I feel like Charles is Chris and Candace is Big Bird, so to speak. So what does it matter what people say, as long as you have someone in the White House that isn't just in your corner but by your side? I guess it's the best way to put it. Now, based off the 11 minutes of your life I just took already, do I think these two should get back together? In a way, yes, but I'm not saying they need to get hitched anytime soon. I feel like, and I said this about, like Madison and Jeffrey, and if Benny gets a love interest in the future, not everyone needs a love interest. A lot of these characters just need a good companion, someone who can help them to, and I don't want to, look, I need to stop. I was going somewhere with this, but next thing you know, I was going to find myself quoting "Can You Stand the Rain" lyrics, but you just need somebody through the good times and bad times and let their relationship build. I mean, even when you saw the moment where Candace was being pretty much verbally kicked to the curb, you could tell that Charles was pretty much emotionless, and Candace was right, so you're just going to give up. And it's like, you're the one that brought me here. And Candace made a legitimate response, like, you're the one that, uprooted me from where I was and brought me here. I mean, even if you want to exclude, how they met and, how he helped kind of repair the relationship between her and Hannah, just the fact that you took her from Georgia and brought her to Michigan to your house, and now you want to get rid of her, that was cold. And yeah, even despite everything Candace has done, I did feel bad for her in that moment, because of the fact that, once again, she gave her heart to someone, and it wasn't Oscar, and the fact that Charles wasn't someone who was purposefully trying to sabotage or con her, because trust and believe, so many theory videos like, did David, Charles, I need you to handle this criminal for me. No, it wasn't a David plot. It wasn't a Jim plot. It was Charles literally wanting Candace. So it was no scheme. The only scheme was Landon trying to sabotage the relationship, but that was quickly, fixed. But I just feel like if they got together, it would definitely be because Charles would be making the first move. I feel like Charles would definitely make that move. Would a pregnancy be involved? Honestly, I don't want a pregnancy to be involved in it, because that means they're getting together just for the sake of the baby and yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, it's like, I would really like Charles to realize that Candace means more to him than any of the politics and everything. And I think that goes without saying, because I feel like that was one of the most annoying things. Like, if you compare when they first met, Charles, and even when they got to the White House, it was like, are you sure I belong here and everything? And then he stood next to the desk in a very good moment when Candace was like, no, it suits you just fine. And it was always this uncertainty. But now all of a sudden, the politics and the position as president matters more to him than Candace does. I always made a comparison. It's like, oh, I get it, because at the beginning of the series, it was Candace and Jim, because Jim, for a lack of a better phrase, was having a midlife crisis. He had just turned 50. Candace was making him feel young again. And he pretty much wanted to throw away everything, his career as a judge, his run for governor. He was willing to throw all of that away just for Candace. And now you have Charles, who was pretty much in a similar situation, willing to sabotage himself to be with Candace, because you had everyone in his inner circle saying that this woman's going to bring you down. But then when you finally have her, no, I'm done with her. So I definitely think that, to be honest, Charles has more problems than Candace, and that's saying a lot, folks. I mean, Candace has lost her son. She had just repaired her relationship with her mother. I mean, hell, remember, she was sending people to threaten her for money and everything, not to mention she was pimping at the time. So she definitely had a lot of problems, but I feel like Charles is having an identity crisis in regards of who he wants to be with and who he wants to be, because one of my favorite Landon moments and Charles moments was when he was talking about how his army buddies and or the Marine, yeah, basically from the armed forces, his old buddies, people from his hometown, even his own mother, they don't look at him the same way because, you know, of his political stature and everything. So he's actually trying to find himself. And when I say that, I don't mean in a sexual sense. I mean like his persona. So in a way, I think that these two could theoretically end up together again. But at the same time, it's like the damage has been done, or I don't even want to say done. Remember, we don't know what kind of political propaganda Charles and his team will have to put out there to distance themselves from Candace. And like Oliver said, it could get ugly. So I get it. There are some Candace and Charles shippers who want them back together no matter what. But depending on how ugly this back and forth in the media is going to get, I think that says a lot about whether or not Charles and Candace should get back together. So those are just my thoughts. This video was longer than expected, but like I said, I needed to set the stage here as to why I did the Malone, Candace, and Charles video, but then also give my thoughts on, should these two actually get back together kind of scenario. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And as always, I'll talk to you soon. Congratulations on making it to the end of this video. If you like what you just saw, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, or if you have anything you would like to add to the video, make sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to keep up with me on social media, go to the description box. All of my links for social media are right there. Also, if you feel like you would like to donate to the channel, make sure to click on the link to PayPal. Any amount helps. $1, $5, $20. As a full-time YouTuber, any support from my fans really does mean a lot to me. Finally, make sure to hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification icon. That way you're kept up to date on any new content I post to the channel. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you in the next video.